Okay, I've been watching the January 6th hearings, as many people have, and I come up with a couple of things. I'm going to read my second poem you've probably already heard. It's all our fault. The January 6th Commission made me question how we got where we are now. There have been many presidential elections in my lifetime. The winners in them were sometimes, but not always, my choice. I could have overseen that they all, but one, had the appropriate resume to be the president of the United States. Even when I was much too young to vote, I found the elections very interesting and noted the credentials of the winner. Harry S. Truman served in the military and in the Senate and vice president and president after FDR's death. Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Military Commander for Europe in World War II, President of Columbia University, First Commander of NATO. John F. Kennedy, World War II hero, served in House and Senate. Lyndon Johnson served in House and Senate as Majority Leader, Vice President, and President after JFK assassination. Richard Nixon served in World War II, House and Senate, and was Vice President. Jimmy Carter, U.S. Naval Academy graduate and Governor of Georgia. Ronald Reagan, Governor of California. George H.W. Bush, World War II hero, served in the House and was Vice President. William J. Clinton, Governor of Arkansas. George W. Bush, Governor of Texas. Barack Obama served in the House and Senate. Donald J. Trump, sexual predator, failed businessman, con artist, the only one on the list never to serve in the military or elective office. And we elected him president? Granted, the Democrats nominated an unpopular candidate, Hillary Clinton, but she had credentials, senator from New York, secretary of state. And now, if he is not convicted of a January 6th crime, he has a choice to run again. Will we make the same mistake twice? And a completely different person who kind of changed part of my life, and I think I did this a couple of weeks ago. If I can find it. The two sides of Dan Berrigan. The two sides of Dan Berrigan, maybe it's really that I got hopefully to appreciate the complete Dan Berrigan. At first, I didn't agree with him on Vietnam, but felt that little cardinal was wrong to exile him to South America. Then I realized that he was right and I was wrong. Then I saw him speak at the Catholic work in New York and later at St. John the Divine at the Roland of Thomas Merton Life Center at Columbia University. He saw Merton as a mentor. I saw Dan as an articulate, passionate rabble-rouser, bringing others to the important peace positions which I agreed with. Then I spent a weekend with him on a retreat, and I saw a whole different side that I had not seen. He was quiet and funny, and rather than push us to action, he showed us by the example what we should be. I got to know him much better when I drove him to the train, and even better when he left his sword in my car and I delivered it to his New York City apartment. And even better when I interviewed him for a newspaper column. And finally better when I used to call him on the phone and used to talk about things. And along the way, I realized I was very lucky to be talking to a saint. Then finally, one that I do not believe that I have written here before. Vietnam fracture. People often ask what started this terrible polarization in which we find ourselves. I feel it all began with the Vietnam War that created two polar extremes and a confused middle. We had extreme patriots who believed that everything we were doing was God's will, no matter what lies the policy was built on, a policy that was flawed to begin with. We should have learned all the way back to the revolution that in a two-country war with the combatants separated by oceans, that the home team always wins. And they thought all those opposed to the war were commies and traitors. And the extreme anti-militarists militarists who took out the hatred of the war on returning vets who had no more to do with the flawed policy than Pinhead of Houdini, calling them baby killers, criminals, etc. And even worse, in my judgment, caused an end to the draft. We should not have ended it. We should have expanded it, added women, added non-military options, hospital work, Peace Corps, Indian reservation, etc. Keeping it would have continued the we all owe fellow Americans something. Taking it away allowed the we to become I. I only did 6 months of military service and generally hated it. But even without realizing it, I grew because of it. From day one, the service built teamwork. My first time in Fort Dix, we marched along with a bunch of ragtags chanting, "Mighty A, proud rifles." We were all in together. And from then on, I became part of the we. The Irish Catholic of New York City worked with the Protestant from Alabama who thought that the Pope was a heretic. The college English major found common ground with high school dropouts who thought reading was a big waste of time. The local basketball gym rat fanatic found the same teamwork as part of an artillery crew. The kid from the little white neighborhood of Inwood saw his black platoon buddies suffer bigotry and exclusion in Lawton, Oklahoma. And we all became we, the American we. There's no more we for most of us other than the military, police, and fire services. The rest of us have all fallen back into our own little tribes and gotten us into the mess that we're in now. Once the polarization grew, civility was lost. No more Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill having drinks after disagreeing all day. William F. Buckley and John Kenneth Galbraith who agreed on nothing about economic settling together. People lost the ability to separate policy from personality, to disagree without being disagreeable. If someone doesn't agree with you, he or she is probably a fascist or communist or anti-American or bigot or moron or soft on crime. Can we get out of this mess and return to the World War II mentality when we were all in this together? I have no idea, probably not in my or your lifetime or that of this poem. And that's it. And once again, thank you for putting up with my rants on various things. Thank you, David.